Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Process Automation Podcast from ABB. In our previous episode, we looked at the many new ways that fibre is being used beyond traditional paper production. And today, we are continuing to look at how the same innovations and creativity are transforming the whole pulp and paper industry. For decades, the pulp and paper industry has quietly led the way in bioenergy and biomaterials. By evolving from traditional manufacturing sites into modern self-sufficient biorefineries, the industry has become one of the world's largest producers and users of bioenergy from wood-based residues, which is a renewable resource when forests are sustainably managed. By leveraging technologies like biomass boilers, gasification, and the production of biodiesel and ethanol, paper mills are turning what was once considered waste into valuable energy and market-ready products. So what does this transformation mean for the future of energy, sustainability, and even new revenue opportunities? Well, that is exactly what we are going to explore in today's episode, as we ask the question, how is the pulp, paper and fibre industry creating future value through biomass, biofuels and circular innovation? I'm Fran Scott, and this is the Process Automation Podcast from ABB. Later in this episode, we are going to be joined by Wilson Monteiro, Business Line Manager for Pulp, Paper and Fibre, and Roger Osleen, Head of Sustainable Fuels at SCA. But here with us now, we have Gustav Mellin, CEO and CFO of Mantex AB. And Gustav has been working with biomass and bioenergy for more than 3 decades, which is a critical part of the pulp and paper story. But to start, I asked Gustav to give us an overview of the pulp and paper industry.
Well, yeah, the pulp and paper industry, I guess they are situated almost everywhere that there is forest. And of course, they started in the more industrial countries. And then again, there is a limit of the market, how much pulp and paper that there is needed. So today we have also factories that are closed down and so on, and moving from older types of newspaper pulp to other types, more fiber, and going to the sector where we produce clothes and so on. So of course there is a change in the sector, and I believe that those companies that are able to more and more use the byproducts also for valuable products are the companies that are the best to be able to survive.
So in terms of these renewable, is that biofuel that we're talking about using biomass as the fuel? And kind of how does that work? Could you talk us through that, please?
When harvesting forest for pulp or for timber, we always get a lot of residues which we can use for energy. And also at the pulp mill we have black liquor, we have bark and so on that are used for energy. We can produce electricity, and we can also use black liquor to produce biofuels or different kinds of biochemistry.
What's this black liquor that you speak of?
Yeah, the black liquor is what you get in the pulp industry when you take out the fiber. So you take out the fiber and produce the pulp from that, and then all the rest, the biomass between the fibers in the stem of a tree, that creates the black liquor. It contains a lot of lignine, and a lot of energy. Black liquor can be used for different types of biofuels if you do not burn it in the process yourself. Since Sweden introduced the green certificate system where we paid more for electricity, then most of the pulp plants also invested in electricity production. Some of them had that already before, but it became a lot more profitable when the green certificate system was introduced. So now more or less everyone has electricity production, so they can either sell the electricity to to the ordinary market or use it themselves, so to speak. There have been a lot of energy efficiency work as well, taking care of energy heat to use it in the industry instead of wasting it, and then creating a surplus of wood chips and bark that you can sell to other district heating companies instead. And also in some cities we have pipelines from, for example, the plant in Frövi. We have a pipeline to the city of Lindesberg that is heating Lindesberg with the waste heat from the plant, and that is done on several places. So there are lots of different potential and possibilities to use energy better.
Oh my word! So this sector that started off by using biomass, trees, forests to make paper, have then diversified in terms of they're then using the waste product or the raw material to then make their own electricity, and then to make the paper, and then they are using the heat that's produced by making that electricity to then heat the neighborhood. So they've really diversified, haven't they?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And you may know that we used to say that everything we can make from oil, we can also make from trees or from other biomass. So there is not really any end to the possibilities, even though it's complicated sometimes to produce plastics or different types of material that you produce from oil. Still, there is a lot of possibilities and economy in it if you're able to sell it.
So often on this podcast, we talk about the importance of legislation and policy. And so are there regional differences in this? And does that affect like the growth, the regulation and the innovation when it comes to using this biomass in this way?
Yes, it's definitely rather large differences between different countries and different regions and so on. It can be on the emissions, but it's almost in every sector that there are differences. But I think that maybe the best way of making a change is also to have rather close connection between different sectors in a society, and having different types of close business in the same area. Then you also get more change than you would have otherwise. So it's if people and ideas can move between different companies and different sectors, then you have a quicker development.
And so on that note, what are the most promising projects internationally of forest-based, I suppose, innovative ecosystems or pilot projects that are happening on this collaborative scale?
I think if we talk energy, and then I definitely think that it's on the refinery side and chemistry. Being able to produce different types of biofuels for aviation or also for cars. We have a very interesting sector at the moment developing with companies that try to produce biochar and biocoal for the steel industry, because even though those ideas will succeed with using more hydrogen for steel production, there will be a lot of need for carbon. Renewable carbon, like in biochar, will be very interesting, and there will be a demand for it. You produce that in a pyrolysis reactor where you use anaerobic conditions. So then the tree or the biomass will digest in a pyrolysis oil, in a pyrolysis gas, and in biochar. And actually, then you can use the biochar for the steel industry and the pyrolysis oil you can use for the biorefinery sector. So there will be, or there are large benefits when different sectors can use the same raw material but for different sectors. It's more complicated, but it's also very economic. And I think that's the way to do it, to be able to compete with more cheaper fossils. Then you always need to sell your product to several different markets.
Interesting. And when you say pyrolysis, that is breaking things down using heat, isn't it? So is it making the smaller carbon chains?
Without oxygen.
Without oxygen.
Yeah.
Got you. So making the smaller chain molecules that can be used as fuel in different ways.
Exactly. Yes.
So in terms of looking to the future, let's say over the next 10 years, what do you think will be the biggest change in how we use biomass?
Well, I hope that we will have higher costs for using fossils, and then I believe that that we will have more use of biomass in all sectors. But if we don't have a higher price on emitting fossil carbon dioxide, then I fear that we won't have much change either. But I believe there's a lot of potential and a lot of possibilities, and that biomass energy could cover at least 50% of the energy need. Because there is a lot of potential to do more if there is a higher demand. And like in the agriculture sector, the demand is not very big on the forest side either. So, and as you know, pulp industry are closing down in some parts of the world and investing in other parts where the forests grow better and so on. But the potential to increase everywhere and also then get more income in many countries on the countryside is great. And I would love to see a positive development in this sector. And I think it's possible both in electricity, heat, biofuel for cars sector, but also for different kinds of bioproducts, even though it's in chemicals or if is in solid products like for building or for other types of products, and pulp, of course. Fiber.
Gosh, so ever expanding and looking at ways to use the raw material in so many different aspects and products.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gustav. Next, we are joined by Wilson Montiero, Business Line Manager for Pulp, Paper and Fiber, where he focuses on driving innovation, sustainability and digital transformation across the whole industry. I started by asking him about the part he plays within the entire pulp, paper and fiber value chain and what might surprise people about this industry.
When I look to pulp and paper business today, it's really a massive interconnected value chain, okay? It's the start with a responsible forest and sourcing of a raw material, then moves through pulping, paper making, and converting process. But it doesn't stop there. Today, mills are also recycling fibers, recovering chemicals, and even producing energy from their own byproducts. The industry is diversifying into textile, packaging, and advanced biomaterial. So it is not just about paper anymore. Every step is being optimized for efficiency, sustainability, and circularity, which makes it a fascinating and a complex ecosystem.
And so what has been ABB's role within this journey within the pulp, paper and fiber sector?
Well, ABB role has really evolved alongside the industry, you know. When I started 30 years ago, was I would say our portfolio was very oriented to electrification and automation, okay? Today, when you see, for instance, upstream, we provide advanced automation and fiber analysis tools that help mills get the most out of every fiber, improving quality and reducing waste. In downstream, for instance, our electrification and energy management solution are helping mills cut energy use and CO2 emission. Okay, then I would say that today We have much more involvement with the pulp and paper fiber segment in different areas comparing 30 years ago, mainly in the digital side. I can see that here we have a huge potential for help much more this industry.
I'd love to dig into a bit more detail about how pulp and paper mills can become biorefineries. How are they able to do this? And is it ABB technology that's used to enable that change?
Pulp mills are uniquely positioned because they already handle large volumes of biomass. Okay, and they have infrastructure to process it efficiently. They have always produced valuable byproducts like tail oil and lignin, but now with the biorefinery concept, they can go further, producing biofuel, biomaterial, and renewable chemicals. ABB supports this shift with integrated electrification, automation, and digitalization solution that helps mill managing complex process and maximize the value of every input. Okay. Then I would say that mills have decades of experience in handling biomass and running highly integrated process. Then for them, it's not difficult to move their business to that direction.
Of course, of course. I didn't think of that. So of course this change within the industry is actually quite a natural fit. They're already handling all of this material, and in a way, like you said, they have had waste products that have then gone on to be used, but it's just making that process so much more efficient and using every aspect of the raw material that we can.
Sometimes even selling surplus electricity back to the grid. Financially, it lowers energy costs and creates new revenue streams. ABB role is to provide electrification, automation, and process optimization technology that make this possible, including waste heat recovery and the future red solution like electricity, boiler, and the lime calcination, for instance.
Okay, could you talk us a little bit through about this burning of black liquor? Because as far as I understand it, black liquor is an energy-rich byproduct from biomass, and that is then burnt to make electricity. Is that the way it works?
Yes, exactly. But beyond burning black liquor, mills are using all available biomass residues, closing the chemical cycles, as we say, and integrating other renewables. They are investing in electrification, maximizing the efficiency of motors and drives, and using digital tools to optimize every aspect of their operation. This not only cuts emission, but also reduce cost and increase self-sufficiency.
And so, just zooming in on that self-sufficiency of the paper mills, do you see a future where this self-sufficiency increases so much that they actually become energy hubs? And what would it take to actually make that happen?
Oh, it is not just realistic, it's already happening in some places, okay? Mills are producing more renewable electricity than they consume it and selling the surplus to the grid. The keys are integrating bioenergy, advanced automation and electrification. Digitalization allow for real-time monitoring and predictive maintenance, while circular resource use ensure that every byproduct is put to good use. ABB's technology are central to making this vision a reality, supporting both operational efficiency and a new revenue stream. I would say that if you see some countries like Brazil, where I live, okay, and Brazil is the second largest producer of pulp and the main pulp export country in the world. When you go to the mills, you can see clearly their potential to be a new, I would say, a new power station because they are in some places probably earning more with what they are providing in terms of energy than considering the pulp by itself. Okay, then for me, it's not a trend; it's already happening.
And in terms of looking to the future, what do you see as real progress over the next, let's say, 10 years? How do you hope the industry has evolved?
I see this trend of energy, for instance, accelerating. To get there, we will continue to invest in high efficient recovery boilers, turbines, and electrification. It's one point that for us is important. Full integration of automation and digitalization will be essential, as we will strategically use of all biomass and process side stream. Collaboration across the value chain and with energy markets will also play a big role. With the right technology and partnership, mills can become self-sufficient, circular, and profitable energy producer. Okay, then one of the key points for us today is really invest much more in R&D, in innovation, exactly to see how we can provide different products for different areas internally in the pulp and paper and fiber segment.
Thank you so much, Wilson. And next up, we have Roger Osleen, who is Head of Sustainable Fuels at SCA and CEO of a joint venture between SCA and ST1. And I began by asking Roger to tell me a little bit more about SCA and what it is that they do.
SCA is a forest company located here in north part of Sweden, a forest company with an integrated industry. We are the biggest private forest landowner in Europe, 2.7 million hectares of land. It's the size of Belgium, if you want to compare it, or 6% of Sweden. So there's a lot of land. And of course, on that land, we have a lot of forest, but we also have our industries, of course, located at land, and a lot of mills and wind farms and so on.
Understood. And when it comes to SCA, I've heard that you are known for your ability to utilize the entire tree. And so can you talk us through how this happens? How do you utilize the entire tree from root to crown?
So what we are doing, we are taking care of the entire tree. So when the tree grows up, they are absorbing carbon from the atmosphere, and the sun is shining on them, and they are drinking water from the soil. They are actually growing, and they are growing for about 80 to 100 years. And when they are not growing anymore, then it's time for harvest. So we harvest them, and the lower part of the tree goes into our sawmills and become wood products. And the upper part of the tree will become pulp and paper products in our pulp mills and paper mills. And the upper part of the tree will become energy, district heating or other forms of energy.
Is there a reason why you use different parts of the tree for different functions? Do they have different amounts of energy in them?
Of course, they have different purpose, different part of the tree. So, for example, the lower part of the tree needs to go to sawmills and become, let's say, wood products. All the byproducts, bark and sawdust, for example, that will become energy. And also we will have that kind of byproducts also in our pulp mills as well. So, for example, sawdust and bark and also crude tallow oil, for example, go up to the business area renewable energy, and they become, say, energy products that now we are selling that to the market.
And could we zoom into that a little bit more? Because you mentioned things like crude tallow oil and how that's all working. And so how do you go about using this part of the tree to make biofuel? And of course, this is the ABB Process Automation podcast. And so how do you go about applying smart energy reuse within that process?
So SCA, we have a well-invested industry. So our mills are super energy efficient. So we have, let's say, extra energy over, so to say. For example, the crude tallow oil that comes from our pulp mills, and Now it goes down to Gothenburg, where we have together with Esteban, we have built a refinery there. We are producing sustainable aviation fuel or HVO for road transport based on that, let's say, oil from the tree, so to say. And we are developing other kind of biorefinery projects also here in Sundsvall, where we are planning to use sawdust and bark directly, and from sawdust and bark produce sustainable aviation fuels that can be used in airplanes, for example, or fighter jets or whatever. It's a super cool project.
That is intriguing. And so what is crude tall oil?
It's coming from the tree, actually.
Oh, okay, right. So it's not what we think of as in terms of crude oil out the ground made from fossil fuels, but this is a bio-based oil.
Yes, it's coming from the tree. So we are using the fiber for producing pulp, for example, but then we also get a lot of energy that we are, let's say, using for producing electricity, but we are also using that energy for producing fuels, for example.
Is that the same as black liquor or slightly different?
It's very close to black liquor. They are coming from the same part of the pulp mill, but the black liquor we are using for producing steam for running the mills and also producing renewable power.
Understood. Gosh, there's so many different aspects to it, isn't there? Because I suppose there's this naive view that when you look at biofuel, you could be like, well, that's just the burning of leaves and waste. But that isn't it, is there? There's such nuances in the materials of the tree that different parts of the tree have different properties and I suppose different energy densities. And then you can look at those properties and utilize the different parts in different ways that will best serve the planet and us humans.
Yes, nothing is left behind. We take care of everything, and it's for sure not waste. It's really good product with a really high value.
And so what are the biggest challenges when it comes to scaling up SCA's renewable energy ambitions, let's call them? And how does this compare to the broader trends that we're seeing across the industry?
Yes, the biggest challenges as we see it is this market to produce renewable energy is driven by regulatory driven by politicians. So what we can see is that it has changed over time. So when we started this kind of projects 10 years ago, it was a really big focus on sustainability. And that was, let's say, the purpose that we are starting to develop these kind of projects to become more sustainable. And of course, there were a lot of questions about how much CO2 can you take away from the atmosphere. And we told them it's 1 million ton, for example, with the project we are developing here. But we don't get that kind of questions anymore. Now it's more about focus on security and competitiveness, security of supply. So we can produce, let's say, fuels based on our own feedstock, so to say, independent from oil from Russia, for example. So that's what we see now. It's that a shift for the politicians. That's also something that creates uncertainty for us. But what's really good in this, and also for the projects that we are developing, is that it's good. Our project is good for the sustainability, but it's also security of supply and also locating that kind of project here in Sweden, in this part of Sweden, is also we are also developing some of the most competitive projects in the world to produce this, let's say, new fuels as cheap as possible, of course. But we cannot compete with fossil fuels, and that's the big challenge here. But what's really good is that this is not R&D anymore. The technology is here, and also companies. So we are ready to scale up if we can mitigate this regulatory risk, so to say. And a lot of projects like us are ready to go if we can solve that.
And when it comes to balancing up the environmental factors to energy security to cost, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the energy trilemma, isn't it? And of course, you've got these three things that you've got to balance out. And although it might not be the cheapest, that might not be your priority because the customers and the planet might want it to be more renewable.
Yes, we call it the energy, Europe's this energy trilemma, because politicians usually only can cover one of them. But we are saying you need to cover all three: the sustainability, the security of supply, the security, but also the competitiveness.
Roger, in terms of looking to the future, what excites you personally most about SCA's journey into developing these bio-based innovations beyond just the pulp and paper industry as it was 10 years ago?
No, so I have been working with big projects for 35 years now, and it's of course really good. Can use that experience to do something good for upcoming generation. But what we also see here, and what I think is also really exciting, is to start working with other companies. So a forest company like SCA start working with an energy transition company like SD1 to do this kind of projects jointly together and help each other to move forward faster. And that's also good to start working with other companies, and new cooperation will be created. And that's also fun and good, of course, for these kind of projects.
Absolutely. And bringing together expertise and partnerships to make these new innovations and this new way that we're opening up the pulp and paper industry as efficient and productive as possible.
Yes, if you can cover the entire value chain as we are doing, from let's say the sawdust at the sawmill to the end customer in the same cooperation, then you also mitigate a lot of risks, but you also have competence in all these areas as well in-house. And that's, I think it's important for this kind of project also to be able to, let's say, become reality.
Thank you, Roger. And my word, the pulp and paper industry is so different to how I thought. But that is all we have time for this episode. Of course, a big thank you to our guests today, Gustav, Wilson, and Roger. I'm Fran Scott, and the Process Automation Podcast is a Fresh Air production for ABB. Follow now for free wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode.